Hey, all. Welcome back to the Awesome Life podcast. I'm Karen Stultz, your host. And as a powerhouse for awesomeness and freedom in the world, I have a podcast, this one, Awesome Life Podcast, and I'm also a guest author and speaker. I help creative, inspirational leaders to share their message, to be out there, to grow and do the great things that they are meant to do in this world. And my guests and I help particularly women in transition who are looking for alternatives. Some of you may know exactly what you want, but you don't know the resources. You don't have the resources, or some of you might not even have a clue of what is possible. You think you're stuck. And I'm here to tell you, you are not stuck. And my guests are here to help you recognize that fact and move forward with the joy and the awesomeness that you were born to have. And today, my guest is absolutely, I'm just so thrilled to have Steve Farrell as my guest. He is, well, let me read you a little bit about his official bio, and then we will go into Steve and the magnificence of conscious leadership, I guess, is where we, and humanity. It's all about humanity, isn't it? So I had it all together, and this is all part of the Awesome Life. You know, things happen, guys. So let's have some fun with it. Fun is number one in my world, and my guests feel the same way. So let me read you a little bit about him. The pinnacle of Silicon Valley success is co-author or co-founder of two high-tech firms. Steve Farrell pivoted to lead Humanity's Team, a global nonprofit helping people everywhere awaken to their interconnectedness. He details the journey of the American dream to the conscious leadership in his new book, A New Universal Dream. Steve and Humanity's Team offer educational programs in business, science, spirituality, creativity, relationships, healing, and conscious living through multiple platforms, including their Humanity Stream, streaming service, and a whole lot more. And we're going to talk about a little bit his new book, A New Universal Dream, which, by the way, is coming out tomorrow. So welcome, Steve. I'm so excited to have you.
Karen, thank you so much. Wow, it's wonderful to be here with you and on the eve of the book release. Wow, how fun is that?
I know you can pre-order it right this second in time, but the official is out tomorrow, isn't it? So
It is, yes. Yeah, Amazon and bookstores. Yeah, check it out.
awesome. So let me start. You were in high tech. How so many people in high tech are so scientific, they have a hard time reaching that divinely given humanity and creating that humanity team. Tell me your story.
Yeah, we'd love to. So the book, this A New Universal Dream, it actually is a true story. It's a 50-year true story. So and it starts with me at age 12. I'm there. Actually, my parents were getting divorced right around that time frame. My mother then was holding the home with 7 kids. I have 6 siblings. And so it's a story of me from those early years at 12 all the way to today. And it's really a pretty extraordinary adventure story because, like probably most of your viewers, I grew up, again, single mom, 6 brothers and sisters, very much on a budget. So my first job was there at 12, and then a job after that, and after that, paid for my braces in the 6th grade, just to emphasize, he didn't have the money to pay for braces. So we found an orthodontist who would take a monthly payment. So from that start, then I find myself, if we fast forward at the center of wealth creation in Silicon Valley, where I'd started then two companies, two guys, used furniture, and a very inexpensive executive suite. The first one that went to 75 million in revenue, and then we created another one that in 2 years went to 75 million in revenue. And so then I'm in the club there in Silicon Valley. And just to emphasize that point, in my chapter there was Gavin Newsom, who's the current governor of California. There were 60 of us. He was one. Andy Cunningham, who was the marketing genius that worked with Steve Jobs to launch Apple. Hamid Moghadam, who's the CEO of the largest real estate investment trust REIT in the whole world. Those are, and there were others that were unbelievable. So I'm right there, truly at the center of wealth creation. And candidly, I learned a lot. I mean, a lot, which is why I wrote the book, to share all of my lessons learned and to provide tools for people in the conscious journey. And then candidly, what I did is I rejected that American dream, as you mentioned, and I call it, did a U-turn where I sold all of my interests, left all of these things, moved my family to Boulder, California from Silicon Valley, launched Humanities Team with Neil Donald Walsh, who's the author of Conversations with God. We launched this almost exactly 20 years ago. And now Humanities Team has grown into this organization with reach and impact all over the world. So a very, you could call it, unlikely story for a 12-year-old. And we had about a 1,300 square foot home that the 8 of us lived in with pets. And so I tell that whole true story in the book. And because I'm not Steve Jobs, this isn't really a book like his autobiography. It is an autobiography, but this book was written for the reader, because your viewers here and listeners are on the conscious journey, as you mentioned. And the conscious journey, as we know, has huge challenges. There's quicksand, there's a lot that we deal with. There's not public acceptance, for example, when we awaken to who we really are. Our family, our friends, our coworkers, they're all very concerned about us. That's just one of many challenges on this conscious journey. And so I tell that story and for readers, so that readers can say, oh, I so much get that. And as I go through this thing where I'm hiring people, we had 175 people that we hired, and that was part of the first company. The second one we took to about 750 people. So the process of this young guy, a middle kid, being the founder and CEO of these fast growing organizations, and what I learned, and then doing this whole conscious journey thing and what I learned, it's just a book that's littered with lessons learned and tools all along the way. Again, written for readers, just to in the hopes that people might find 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 tools in there that they say, oh my God, that could work for me too.
Fantastic. Yeah. And I'm curious. So what do you think? You were there in the club, as you called it, with all of these amazing people. Do you think that being part of that club was advantageous for you, or how did you grow it so quickly, or how quickly did you grow it? I guess I should be asking you.
Yeah, it was. So I started my first company in January 1st, 1990. I was with IBM and left, founded that first company with a partner. So the two of us, and then we sold it to NEC, the Japanese conglomerate, in 1999. And we birthed the second company inside that first company. And that one we took into 2001 before we sold it.
Oh, wow.
I learned a ton. And these are amazing people. The 3 people I'm sharing of, they're, you see Gavin on TV all the time. These are amazing people. They're unbelievably skilled. I learned a ton. Again, you got this middle kid growing up we can probably all relate to this, in a very average home. And here I am then, years later, leading these huge organizations. We raised 185 million for the second company. So imagine the learning and the process that you're going through to raise that money, to hire all these people, to be in this leadership position with these people, and then to look at it and say, my God, in today's world, where there, of course, are so many challenges, where there, this term existential crisis is being thrown around more and more and more. And we can see extreme weather as one example of that. Also, where we're familiar just on a personal level with where we're in that mental, emotional world, logic of the mind, right? That whole, the world noise world that we're all familiar with. Most of us grew up in that. It's a very much of a roller coaster. Oh, it's a good day. Oh, this is a really bad day. It's in retrograde here, versus this conscious world where we wake up, where we stay in this place of connection. Even right now, stay in this place of connection. It's like drift diving. It's not that we don't have challenges, we do, but we're not anchored. We're not doing this silly up and down and up and down. We know, even with our challenges, that we're a part of this universe, this one energy, that interconnected and interdependent. Its basis is love, where we understand that. So it's a completely different way of living. And I would say the Silicon Valley way was more of a fool's gold, I'll call it, because there was always this oasis on the horizon, and you'd get there and, oh my God, that doggone it, that thing was a mirage. It moved. It was 500 million that I wanted as my revenue target. Now it's $1 billion. You get to $1 billion. Well, now it's $2 billion. It's just always moving. You're climbing higher and higher, and there's enormous stress on relationships with your partner, your kids, your best friends, your coworkers, because you won the lottery and you're just trying to keep it going. So you are just heads down driving that engine of success, as opposed to, again, when we live consciously, oh my God, we sleep so well. We wake up, this work, right, that we're all doing, people are watching because they're on the conscious journey. We know this is the way that we create this whole journey to a sustainable and flourishing earth. The Einstein quote that we can't solve problems at the same level of consciousness. So we got to elevate our consciousness, right? And then we find this juicy way of living. So it was a fool's gold thing, and it's come now into true gold. The real treasure in life, the real delicious way of living. All of these things are found in consciousness. That's why we're talking about it now.
It is a delicious way of living, isn't it? It truly is. So was there a moment in time that all of a sudden, I've had it, I can't take this anymore, I'm doing something else, I have my money, I can do something else? Or was there a moment, or was this just like over time you said, you know what, I'm going to start building this humanity thing and gradually leave the tech?
There was a moment, and there in the 90s there. So I read in 1995, Neil Donald Walsh's Conversations with God, book 1 came out. It was extraordinary. 37 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. Everybody was reading it, and Larry King Live, and ABC, NBC, CBS. Everybody was interviewing Neil. People were intrigued. There was a wisdom in the books. It was like, oh my God, this is like, where did this wisdom come from? And Neil said, it didn't come from me. I was asking the questions. I was just taking dictation here. And that God, if you will, that's revealed in that book which is loving and benevolent, not malevolent, not judging and based on fear or any of that. Where it's revealed, hey, all of life is this omnipresence, omniscience, omnipotence. It's true. I am everywhere. I'm in everything. Wisdom is everywhere. It's within your reach, where you understand that there's no separation. Same thing with power. It's within our reach, where you understand there's no separation. So, and that I'll call it God, because it's called Conversations with God, book 1. It was the God I'd known my whole life from the time I was a kid. It was why, and I said, oh my God, this is real. And so the decision, that moment then, was a few years later, where I was sitting there looking out a window, and I said, okay, one of two things is principally true. One, I'm the son of Joe and Linda, my parents, and I've got this one life. Or two, that my parents delivered me here on the earth, but I'm actually offspring, of the one universe, creator, God, divine, whatever term you want to use, which means then that I have those same properties: everlasting life, unlimited potential. So I'm principally one or the other. And then when I made my decision, no, I am this, the offspring of the divine. Well, that's a whole new, that's a self-realization thing. That's a whole self-definition thing of I am different than that person that had grown up until that time. And my whole life shifted because there's a whole completely different basis now for my life.
Wow. And yeah, I love the fact that you differentiated that, because in truth, that's something I always knew, that the omnipresent God, guides, guardians, whatever, all around us, whatever, spirit, whatever you want to call them, the universe, it's loving. We're meant to be here on this planet to make a difference, to be happy, and to love one another. That's why we are here. Unfortunately, that's not often the way it happens. Often, like you say, it's the roller coaster, up and down. Today is great, tomorrow not so great. And being able to recognize that whatever is out there, whatever you're feeling, we do have a choice. We are, and I think it even says so in the Bible, we are God, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It says we're made in the likeness and image, throughout, and we are one, and
Yeah.
all of that.
So I sometimes wonder why it's so difficult for people to recognize that something needs to give, and dogma is not going to make it in my world. It has to be more caring for each other. That's yeah. What it's all about. You have to care about each other and truly honor yourself and them in order to grow. So tell me more about your new team that you have created, your new business that you've created.
So Neale Donald Walsch, who wrote Conversations with God, he and I did become friends in the late 90s. And then he, there actually are 9 of these Conversations with God books. One of them is called Tomorrow's God. And if you read that book called Tomorrow's God, you'll see actually the birth of Humanity's Team, where it's kind of neat, where Neale and God are talking about, oh, let's start Humanity's Team, and this is what it's going to do in the future. And you're reading about, it's a little surreal. You're reading about your very own organization. I mean, it's even capitalized. The whole thing is pronounced exactly as Humanity's Team with a Y. So Neale and I became friends there in the late 90s. I sold everything, cashed out of everything, knew that I was going to go in a completely different direction. There was almost 2 years there after I sold everything, cashed out of everything, where Humanity's Team hadn't been founded. So I was just with Stephanie, my wife, and we didn't have our kids yet. We actually, our first one we adopted in 2002, the second one in 2004. So right in there shortly after we started our family. But it wasn't until June 2003, that we launched Humanity's Team. And in the spring of that year, Neale reached out and said, hey, would you come to my home? I'm going to launch, a global undertaking, and maybe you could contribute some thought to it. There were 20 of us. I was the one of the 20 that said, I'm in, I'll help you launch it. And then shortly after launching it, he asked me to run the whole organization worldwide. So here I am 20 years later. Wow.
All righty. So is Neale still a part of this organization?
Neale still is. He is he's a co-founder. He's on our board. We talk every week. Yeah, he's quite involved. His whole life is about this. There's a great shift going on, right? It goes by different names. Some call it a big pivot, a great shift, the Great Awakening. They're different. The Grand Convergence, they're different terms thrown around here, but we're well into actually a shift into a whole new way of living on the earth. And he's completely devoted to that, as I am. Again, with the challenges out in the world, everybody's asking the question, especially if they have kids, what does the future hold? And is there a, can I be comfortable that my kids and my kids will have a nice life? Everybody is wondering that. The answer is yes. There's a beautiful future. There's one way, and it's that Einstein thing. We've got to go to another level of consciousness to do this. So that's what our work is about. You mentioned our streaming platform. It's all about elevating consciousness and just revealing these truths that go back to mystical times. Plato, 435 BCE, where he said, there's no plural consciousness, that it's singular. There's one energy, one vibration, that there are 8 billion faces of the one, and it goes by many names. Scientists like the terms universe and cosmos. Spiritualists like the term God and the divine, love, life. Doesn't really matter. We can use whatever term we like.
A rose is still a rose, right?
That's right, exactly.
I really appreciate that, and being able to lift people's energies. I think it all is about lifting the energies, the vibration to that higher level, and that is a choice, isn't it? It's a choice. And when you start living in those higher vibrations, the God shows up more to help, because you are more clear on what you want to do. It's my thinking. What is your thought on that?
Yeah, exactly. Another way of saying that is the universe has our back.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And viewers and listeners, just also, as you feel into this, your whole life's unfolding from high school, and the person you met, and the partner that you have, and family that you have, in the home, and the career. There were just things that just unfolded beautifully, where we stay in that energy, and it supports us. The doors close that need to close, and the other doors that support us open. It does. The universe does have our back, and actually, then where we live consciously, and where we then commit our lives to this whole unfolding, to where we understand, oh my God, I'm one, with the 8 billion people here, and the earth that needs our attention, and animal and plant life, where we say, okay, I see that, and I'm going to live into that. And it's not that we can do everything, right? But everybody can do something. So, and we're called to that, this still small voice thing. It's really, for me, more of a feeling than a voice, but it tells you, oh, go to this station. In my case, start Humanities Team with Neil Donald Walsh, create a streaming platform with all of this unbelievable master classes and transformational education content. We're all then given the path, the station in life that is our particular station. Sometimes it's just caring for an aged parent or young ones.
Yeah, I got to say, that's where my transformation started, was when I was caring for my parents. Yeah, leaving everything behind, basically. Fortunately, my husband stuck with me, but we were separated for like 5 years while I cared for my parents.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's really hard. Yeah.
And it's just one of those things. You do what in your heart is right, and you can't go wrong when you know in your heart that it's right. You just can't go wrong.
Yeah. And I think there's so many false narratives that we grow up with. One, this American dream narrative of, oh, I just want to kind of go toward pleasure. We're not going to find happiness there, or that we were random, sperm and egg and one life to live, or that, that we are bred to be in competition. There are all these false narratives. Science is proving these things are not true now. Nobel Prize for Physics, entanglement here in October of 2022. Nassim Haramein, with his Resonance Science Foundation, with his whole unified science research that he's bringing forward, that says, with other scientists, the universe is in perfect harmony and cooperation. It's not this big competition thing at all. So that's what makes this. That's what this shift is about, where we're going. Those things I learned in grade school aren't really true at all. Or in church, I was an altar boy in the Catholic Church growing up. That it worked. It's different than what those early teachings were.
Yeah. Well, thank you for mentioning the fact that you were a Catholic growing up. may I ask you, as I want to be careful with my words here, because I have no judgment at all about it. But what I've noticed is that I have that with a number of my clients saying, I was Catholic. That says it all. I'm just filled with guilt, and that's all there is. And I can't get rid of the guilt. So my life is doomed. Do you have any suggestions for that as a good Catholic altar boy?
Oh, I do. Oh gosh, I do. First of all, I can relate. I'm sure he's no longer alive now, so I can even say his name. Father Cowie, was at our Catholic church. Oh boy, it was rough. So I get all of that, all the way to the confessional and the whole thing. I get that. But here's the thing is, boy, we have to, or, not have to, we're invited to open ourselves, to these new understandings that are here now. Read Conversations with God or any of the new science. There's so many scientists devoting their lives, including Nobel Prize winning scientists. Read, the old Wayne Dyer, the Deepak Chopra, we could go on. My own book, A New Universal Dream. Read these things, because what's really sad is if at the end of our life, we then transition to this non-physical being, and we find out that it was true. It's all benevolence. It is all based on love. It's all based on harmony and cooperation. What a shame, that we went through our life not really quite getting that, and being somewhat shut down. What a shame. So this is what we're doing here, is just revealing, inviting people, that we're not proselytizing, inviting people to just look at some of these new understandings. I will say, because, we've talked about my platform, the streaming platform. I work with some of the best mediums in the whole world. I also work with some of the best near-death experience people in the whole world. Proof of Heaven, Eben Alexander is one, this was a New York Times bestseller. Let me tell you, they all, the near-death experience, the mediums, they share of this similar experience in terms of what this whole non-physical being afterlife thing is and how it works. And I can assure you, it's the most blissful, loving container that you could imagine. There aren't even words for it. And that's where we all go. And so we really don't, owe it to ourselves to try and open up and just feel into how adored we all are. We are all adored beyond belief. We are a part of the one, inseparable from the universe, inseparable from God. And so if we can open to that, then what we're talking about, this drift diving thing, can be your everyday experience. You can sleep that way. So that's what we're inviting people to here.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. It is peace. It is peace that most people in my world are looking for. And when you can be comfortable in your own skin, when you can look at your life as your choice of way of being, God comes through to you and can help you. But it is something that you have to be open to, have to be willing to accept that all of the gradu that we were taught as kids and even from past lives are not necessary. We can change that. We can change that now, and it does not have to be as hard as most of us make it, including myself. I sit here and I say, dang, this is hard, and I know that it doesn't have to be. I just am not sure of exactly what I need to should. And I guarantee within 30 minutes, something shows up in my email, or I get a phone call or something that says, hey, it doesn't have to be this hard. Let's talk. It's strange, isn't it?
that is the way it works. All we need to do is open ourselves. Also, just for viewers and listeners, if any of this feels like, oh boy, I wish I could embrace it, but I'm having a hard time. In the next 30 days, we will be bringing out a brand new free program. It's all on this whole lifting of the veil, this unlocking the intelligence of the afterlife with Eben Alexander, Karen Newell, who's his partner, and Suzanne Giesman, who used to fly on Air Force One with the president as a senior military officer, now is an unbelievably talented medium. It's a free program. Go to humanitiesteam.org, sign up for that free program, listen to what they have to say. And I promise you, everything that Karen and I are talking about here is true, and they're going to get into a whole lot more basis than what we have time to here today.
I love that. That is fantastic. What a generous gift. I'm signing up. Absolutely. Because that sounds absolutely amazing. And yeah, my guides are around here. Just, I can feel them now, just applauding. It's so great. It's so great, Steve. Oh, wow. So where you mentioned Amazon for your book, but did I understand there was a some sort of bonus that you were offering?
Yes, there is. So thank you. So on Barnes and Noble, and it'll be available out of the country. It's an ebook and in print now, and then there's a Audible coming out here over the summer. So go to anewuniversaldream.com, and when you go there, you'll see a little bit of history on me. The first 4 chapters of the book are opened up, so you can just read the first 4 chapters for free. And then if you decide to purchase the book, when you purchase the book, all that you do is you just write down the receipt number, and then right there on that same site, you enter the receipt number and your name and email address. And then we gift you my masterclass, which is available today for $299, but we gift it to you for free. It's an unbelievable masterclass. It takes you through my whole process of becoming conscious, really then becoming, harnessing the power of full consciousness, this whole omnipresence, omniscience, omnipotence thing, and then conscious leadership, which is this thing when we're hiring people and scaling organizations, how we can create a container with all the things that Karen, you and I are talking about here, where you feel there's nothing transactional in these environments. Yeah. It's very much, it's a loving, truthful environment where there's a lot of passion, there's a dream in terms of that's where we're going. We're going to create this sustainable, flourishing earth, and you're all working together toward that, where you're honoring each other. So all of that is in this masterclass that you get for free when you buy the book.
Fantastic. That is remarkable. And I love that. What a gift, Steve. Steve Farrell, he is awesome, isn't he? And by the way, the awesome is just what it is. It's an overused word. I recognize that, but it is also an acronym. And the acronym for an awesome life success is awareness and allowing. That's what we're doing here, opening up that awareness and allowing. And then with wellness, both emotional and physical wellness, and then into our environment. Steve would never have gotten to where he is if he had not chosen and felt into where he should go next and who he should hang out with and how he could grow. And then recognizing with Neil that it was time to leave. You didn't need to continue growing into the multi-billions. Or maybe you are now, I don't know. In any case, and then spirit, right in the middle of awesome. That S stands for spirit. And spirit, God, divine, universe, whatever you want to call it. It's all one, arose by any other name. And then organization, being organized. This is something I work on every single day, and may until the day I die. But I feel great each time I get a little more organized, and I will have people to help me stay that way. So it can be a lot of fun. Then, of course, money. Money is what we need in order to make a difference in the world. If we're struggling, if we're living in lack, that's no way to live, number one. And number two, we can't make the difference that we are here to make. And listeners, we need to make a difference. It isn't even a want to. It's something that we are on this earth to make a difference, to be awesome, to share our gifts. And then, of course, the final E is for enjoyment and fun, because fun is number one, and that's the way we live, right?
Absolutely.
So be awesome. And do you have any last words, Steve, before we go?
Yeah, gosh, my last words are that the real fruit of this is living into it. So,
Yeah.
And on this conscious journey, it starts, of course, with awareness and oh my gosh, and making that decision. It's a self-definition moment and all of that. But the real treasure, even if the earth didn't need us, and it does, if this term existential crisis was not here at all, this is just my opinion, but you'd be crazy not to embrace conscious living, where you have this unbelievably loving home, with where you're right in the home that you're supposed to be in with your partner and your kids and your pet, and where you then you find your station in life, and you do what Karen, what you're doing with your podcast, what I'm doing from Humanities Team, what people are called to, where we're out helping, trying to supporting, nurturing life, where it's pre-serving life. It's understanding that if omnipresence, omniscience, and omnipotence are true, well, what would be more important than supporting the one? The planet needs our attention. People need our attention. There are a lot of people that are hugely challenged, animal and plant life. So, I referred to it as finding the true gold, the delicious way of living, the real prosperity. It's found here in conscious living. So where we really stretch into it, lean into it, live into it fully. So that's what I would invite. Not, it's good to come into new understandings, but that's not where the fruit is. The fruit is where we're really living into it deliciously.
I love that. And it's so true. Loving what you do, enjoying life, just enjoying. And it doesn't mean that you don't have to work upon occasion, guys. Sometimes it isn't. Like trying to get my husband's cell phone working yesterday was not terribly enjoyable. However, the outcome is going to be awesome. So it's worth it. It's worth it to go through a little bit in order to come out the other side and feel good.
Absolutely.
Feel free. Well, Steve, thanks so much. And until next time, everyone, be awesome.